As host of American Bandstand, Dick Clark introduced rock and roll to many Americans. The show gave many new music artists their first exposure to national audiences, including Ike and Tina Turner, Smokey Robinson and the Miracles, Stevie Wonder, Simon and Garfunkel, Iggy Pop, Prince, Talking Heads, and Madonna. Episodes he hosted were among the first in which black people and white people performed on the same stage, and they were among the first in which live studio audiences sat down together without racial segregation. Singer Paul Anka claimed that Bandstand was responsible for creating a youth culture. Due to his perennial youthful appearance and his largely teenaged audience of American Bandstand, Dick Clark was often referred to as America's oldest teenager or the world's oldest teenager. In 1952, Dick Clark moved to Drexel Hill, Pennsylvania, a suburb of Philadelphia, where he took a job as a disc jockey at radio station WFIL, adopting the Dick Clark handle. WFIL had an affiliated television station, now WPVI, with the same call sign, which began broadcasting a show called Bob Horn's Bandstand in 1952. Clark was responsible for a similar program on the company's radio station and served as a regular substitute host for when Horn went on vacation. In 1956, Horn was arrested for drunk driving and was subsequently dismissed. On July 9, 1956, Clark became the show's permanent host. Bandstand was picked up by the ABC television network and renamed American Bandstand and debuted nationally on August 5, 1957. The show took off due to Clark's natural rapport with a live teenage audience and dancing participants, as well as the clean-cut, non-threatening image he projected to television audiences. As a result, many parents were introduced to rock and roll music. According to Hollywood producer Michael Uslan, he was able to use his unparalleled communication skills to present rock and roll in a way that was palatable to parents. In 1958, The Dick Clark Show was added to ABC's Saturday night lineup, and by the end of the year, viewership exceeded 20 million, and featured artists were virtually guaranteed large sales boosts after appearing on the show. In a surprise television tribute to Clark in 1959 on This Is Your Life, host Ralph Edwards called him America's youngest star maker and estimated the show had an audience of 50 million. Dick Clark moved the show from Philadelphia to Los Angeles in 1964. The move was related to the popularity of new surf groups based in Southern California, including the Beach Boys and Jan and Dean. The show ran daily Monday through Friday until 1963, then weekly on Saturdays until 1988. Bandstand was briefly revived in 1989 with David Hirsch taking over the hosting duties, and by the time of its cancellation, the show had become the longest-running variety show in TV history. In 1960s, the show's emphasis changed from merely playing records to including live performances. During this period, many of the leading rock groups of the 60s had their first exposure to nationwide audiences. A few of the many artists introduced were Ike and Tina Turner, Smokey Robinson and the Miracles, the Beach Boys, Stevie Wonder, Prince, Simon and Garfunkel, Jerry Lee Lewis, Buddy Holly, Bobby Fuller, Johnny Cash, Sam Cooke, Fats Domino, and Chubby Checker. During an interview with Dick Clark by Henry Schipper of Rolling Stone magazine in 1990, it was noted that over two-thirds of the people who have been initiated into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame had their television debuts on American Bandstand. During the show's lifetime, it featured over 10,000 live performances, many by artists who were unable to appear anywhere else on TV, as the variety shows during much of this period were anti-rock. Schipper points out that Clark's performers were shocking to general audiences. Shortly after taking over, Dick Clark also ended the show's all-white policy by featuring black artists such as Chuck Berry. In time, blacks and whites performed on the same stage and studio seating was desegregated. Beginning in 1959 and continuing into the mid-60s, Clark produced and hosted the Caravan of Stars, a series of concert tours built upon the success of American Bandstand, which by 1959 had a national audience of 20 million. However, Clark was unable to have the Beatles appear when they came to America.